Hey guys, so there's a little confusion with these problems that I saw of the people that submitted them. Thank you for doing that, by the way. So the goal of simplifying square roots, and maybe I didn't make this as clear as I should have, is that we are trying to take out all the perfect squares that could be found in 108. So I did this problem in one step. I realized that 36 times 3 was 108. And so the square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 3 must stay the square root of 3. So I have the answer of 6 square root 3. Now some people did this problem a little differently. They went through and said, oh, well, 12 goes into 108. And they realized that 12 goes in, 9 times? So 108 being 12 times 9, the square root of 12, the square root of 9, so they got 3 square root 12. But there is another perfect square that can be taken out of 12, that was the 4, and so the square root of 4 becomes 2. So now what I have is I have the 3 times the 2 times the square root of 3. 3 times 2 is 6. Square root of 3 stays the square root of 3. Now for this one here, I broke it up into 36 times 2 to get 72, and then the negative I made as the square root of negative 1. Now the new jump that we're making in this section is the square root of negative 1 is I. Square root of 36 is 6, square root of 2 is the square root of 2, so 6 times I is 6I, times the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. Now again, people took different avenues to get this answer. So for instance, 72 could also be 12 times 6. It could also be 9 times 8. 9 times 8 was a popular one. So if I start off with 72, I would have 9 times 8. So that's the square root of 9 times the square root of 8. Square root of 9 is 3. And then the square root of 8, I'm going to rewrite to being the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, because there was another perfect square that could come out. And so this turns into 3 times 2 times the square root of 2, so 6 root 2. But remember, it was a negative 72. So I also need to multiply by the square root of negative 1. Multiply, I'm going to now change that to I, change that to I, and so then right here, I'm going to squeeze in that I. So again, I am simplifying this so that there are no more perfect squares in my radicand. And as you take those perfect squares out, take the square root of them, and then they become coefficients, which they become multipliers. 3 times 2, 6 times I, etc. I posted a new problem, square root of negative 162 and the square root of negative 375. Try those two out, and then we'll be moving on to adding and subtracting.